Good afternoon. I'm Doug Tobin, Public Information Officer with Pasco County Government. And behind me is Brian Prill with the Florida Forest Service. He's the Forest Area Supervisor. Nicole Howard also is with the Florida Forest Service. Sean Whitehead, right to my right, he's with Pasco Fire Rescue, and he's a staff chief. We're here today to talk about the fires in Pasco County that occurred on Tuesday, April 25th. There are 5 different ignitions that resulted in 3 different fires. And just to tell the public at this point to use caution when you're out and about, and also to be aware of our surroundings. If there's any suspicious nature, to be alert and either call 911 or to call the Arson Alert Hotline at 1-800-342-5869. And again, the fire danger level is very high. On a scale of 1 to 5, 5 being the highest, we're currently at a level 4. So things can get out of control very quickly. We urge people to use extra caution. And don't forget, there's a burn ban in Pasco County, and that means absolutely no open fires. I'm going to turn it over now to Brian Prill with the Florida Forest Service to talk more and give us more details about the fires in Pasco County yesterday. Brian?
Thank you. Yesterday afternoon, we had one fire reported into us off of Denton Avenue. The Florida Forest Service, along with Pasco Fire Rescue, worked hand in hand on that. We sent 2 tractor plow units, which is, at this condition, that's our initial attack crew. We send 2 tractor plows right off the bat. It was contained at 2.3 acres. And the cause is still under investigation on that one. It is 100% contained at this point. While that was going on, suddenly, while that was happening, all of a sudden we had a new start down in the Seven Springs area at 54 and Old 54. We got units headed to that, and our aircraft was overhead, and about the time the first tractor plow unit got on scene to that one, there were 3 more new fires on the other side of 54, all within, we had 4 within a half a mile radius. So the tractor plows that got there after that were able to plow 3 of those fires together and make one out of it for a total of 3 acres. And then the other one wound up being 29 acres. So they are suspicious in nature. Conditions right now are so favorable for the fire and not so much for us. Anything organic at this point in time will burn. We've got issues going on in some other counties next to us where it's actually pond beds and the peat is burning 3 to 5 foot deep in what should be a pond. So those take an extensive amount of resources and time to put out. Your grasses and the real fine fuels, your main carriers of fire right now, are so receptive that any new starts will grow rapidly and be very difficult to contain. So please exercise caution. Also, we have a couple of strike teams of dozers in from Georgia. We've called for some help from our neighboring states through the Southeastern Compact. So we have 6 more tractor plow units from the state of Georgia pre-positioned here around our region right now to help us out so we don't get overwhelmed too quick. All right. Sean?
Sean White, Pasco Fire Rescue. As Brian and Doug both stated, it's very dry out there. It is taxing our units. We are very busy every day fighting brush fires. Yesterday we were able to free up some of the units from the Hudson fire and send them down to the Seven Springs fire. However, that's traversing almost the entire west side of the county, so it took some time to get some resources down there, which is why it kind of got to be 29 acres. At that time, we had DOF, or Florida Forest Service, was there and assisted us, and we were able to put that fire out. Our arson investigators are out there again today, actually right now, looking at some of the areas of origin to see if they can find a cause. And the pilot of the plane did spot some people out in those woods, so we do have some leads on some suspects that we're following up on right now.
There was one park that was closed in yesterday's fire. This was the Denton Avenue fire. Arthur Engel Memorial Park was closed for a short time on Tuesday, but has since reopened. So again, the Arthur Engel Memorial Park in Hudson is now fully operational. And I'll turn it over to any questions that the press may have. And then just for the sake of television, if you can repeat the question as we go forward. If there's any further questions.
Chief White. Yeah. Can you tell us exactly what's being done to determine, were these arson fires yesterday, and what's being done to determine who set them and how?
So it is our belief that they are arson fires, the ones in Seven Springs and the car wash fire. There was five fires within a half-mile radius. There was no lightning yesterday. There was no infrastructure failure, meaning no power lines or anything came down. So those were caused by human hands, that we don't have that many fires that close together. Our fire department has an arson investigation team. Both the detectives are out there. They're trying to determine that cause. With information from the pilot of the Florida Forest Service plane yesterday that saw those people, we did initially detain 3 people that were out there, 3 subjects that were out there in those woods. We've questioned them, and we've gone back out there to look for evidence today. That's what they're out there doing right now. So we're hoping to tie some of those fires and close those cases out.
And this question may be redundant to things we've asked you over previous days, but what are the penalties for arson?
The penalties for arson, it's not technically an arson charge. It's a felony charge, and it's open burning of land. That's a felony charge. So whatever the penalty for a felony charge is, the one thing about that is if we do have a suspect and we do make an arrest and they go to trial and they are convicted, they are responsible for all of our manpower, our resources, the state's manpower and the state's resources to reimburse us for all that time and money and equipment that we use to put those fires out. That would be reimbursable through the court system.
And property loss?
So far, we haven't had any property loss in any of these fires other than just vegetation. So both properties that the fires were in were undeveloped land. So it's just trees and grass right now.
But had a home burned?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Absolutely, yeah. If a home had burned, or we lost some property out there, yeah. I mean, the Florida Forest Service lost a dozer on a fire over in Okeechobee County. If that's considered to be an arson fire, that person who started that would be responsible for replacing that dozer. And Brian, those aren't cheap.
About $130,000.
$130,000 just for the dozer that they lost. So
yesterday, thanks to the Florida Forest Service and their aircraft spotting individuals, you have a couple of people you have identified. But how difficult is it to catch someone in these circumstances?
Usually very hard. Without a witness coming forward and telling us, hey, I saw person X there in that area and he had a lighter, they're very difficult. They're very difficult to get a conviction on. Arson, all the evidence burns up. So it's hard, but we have a really good group of detectives that go out for the fire marshal's office and they do their due diligence, and they seem to make some cases.
Was it 2 or 3 individuals, and what were they doing that was suspicious other than being?
Well, they were trespassing, so that right there was the ability to detain them and question them why they were out there. Three young men that were out there in those woods were able to be detained by the sheriff's office, essentially for trespassing. They were trespassing in an area where we had 3 arson fires. So, yeah, so that's how we were able to detain them.
You haven't, and I take it you've let them go since, right?
Yeah, we released them to their parents. They were juveniles, so we did notify their parents. Their parents came out and took custody of them.
Did they admit anything?
I don't have any updates on the investigation at this time, no.
How easy is it to start a fire? And you and I were talking a little bit ago. How easy is it to catch something on fire when these conditions are like this?
Today, a cigarette butt thrown out a window, a car window, will start a fire. We are that dry. A simple flick of a butt out a car window or on the ground outside your workplace, it's going to start just about anything on fire. I mean, it's that dry out there. We're at a 4, so a 5's the worst. Just drive around and look. You don't see, we're right in the middle of spring. There's nothing green. Everything's brown. So it's bad out there right now. So it's, a stray thunderstorm that comes through here in the afternoon, if we ever get those, with some lightning. It's not enough rain to keep everything damp. That lightning will start a fire. And that's what happened out at some of those fires over in Hudson earlier this month.
Chief, I heard there were like homeless camps nearby. Is that true? And so were they evacuated, and could that have been the cause of the fire?
The fires yesterday, there was no homeless in those areas. The property owners of the two properties there are very good about keeping the public out of there. They've created berms so people can't go back there and four-wheel and stuff. But they're big open lands. The car wash fire back there, the Anclote River runs through there. There's an old driveway. There's an old residence back there, so a lot of the kids like to hang out back there. So it's just hard keeping people out of there without the property owner erecting a giant fence, which he has done in the past. But they find ways to get around that too. So
we've seen now some of these fires started by people in Polk County and now here in Pasco County. Does it just blow your mind that people are doing something like this?
yeah, I mean, luckily we haven't had any structures lost to this date. We haven't had anybody hurt. We haven't had anybody killed. I mean, a lot of these fires across the state, people are dying, people are getting hurt. A fire down in Collier County had a victim that was burned. He had third-degree burns. Over 60% of his body was flown to a burn center. So, yeah, I mean, people can get seriously injured or die from these fires. And people out there just starting fires just because it's fun, it's taxing our service. We have to put a lot of resources on these brush fires fast to get them out so they don't grow to the large brush fires that we could potentially have. But we also got to remember that when we're doing that, we're pulling resources from our normal day-to-day operations of answering. We answer about 170 calls a day for service. So when we were pulling resources to do that, we're also denying our citizens our ability to go out there and help them, and we rely on mutual aid from our municipal partners and surrounding counties then.
How quickly were the 5 fires started?
All 5 fires started with about 8 minutes of each other. So it was definitely somebody going through the woods doing something illegal. I don't know if they were just walking and throwing matches or walking and lighting a fire. I don't know what they were doing, but 8 fires or 5 fires within about 8 minutes time. And the way the wind was blowing yesterday and the alignment of the fires, there's no way that it was burning embers or brands from another fire, because they were downwind from each other, half a mile apart. We didn't have that much wind, and we didn't have that much fuel burning yesterday to have a brand or something start those fires.
It's 32 acres, and how long did it take to contain it?
We were out there till about 9:30 last night. We finally opened up State Road 54. Brian can probably speak a little bit better to this. They did do some back burning, so that takes some time when we do all that stuff to burn off all the vegetation that's been unburned, so we don't have to go back out there another day or two later and mitigate another fire in that same area. So the Florida Forest Service is very good about doing back burns and burning off the vegetation, so we don't have problems in the future.
Chief or Brian, other one, can you guys summarize for me again where all these fires were? I'm having trouble visualizing them.
So the car wash fire was actually off of Old County Road 54. There's a auto body shop there, Mancini Automotive. There's a large plot of land behind that. That's where the 3 fires were started. And then the 7...
Fire first to 3 fires?
There was 3 fires that they basically merged into one fire by doing back burning.
The tractor plow units just went around all 3 inclusive.
Brian, if we can get you up there.
Yes, the Florida Forest Service, when the dozers got on scene, because they were in such close proximity, one, for safety reasons, we don't get in between the 2, so they just stayed all the way around and encompassed all 3 inside the plow lines there. And that made it just one fire for a total of 3 acres. But it was actually 3 different starts in that area.
Do you know so far, Mr. Earl, if there have been any other arrests in this area, the area that you're responsible with for arson so far?
Not at this time, no. There are several other suspicious fires within our district. You did? Okay. Our district encompasses Hernando, Pasco, Citrus, Sumter, and Lake. And so we do have several other ongoing investigations for suspicious activities. And calls, a lot of times, we determine through the process of elimination. I think our last rain/little bit of thunder event was about 3 weeks ago. We didn't get any rain out of it. We got a little bit of lightning. But if they, in these conditions, they would have shown by now. There's no sleepers out there for 3 weeks. Then you can rule out equipment or, utility failures, things like that. None of that happened in the area. So by taking away known causes, everything kind of points back to it wasn't spontaneous combustion. I can tell you that. So, all right, and you.
We did make an arrest on a fire back in early March, the Seven Springs fire. We arrested a juvenile for, I think it was about a 14-acre brush fire up there. But we made one arrest on that fire.
And on behalf of Pasco County government, we want to thank the Florida Forest Service. I know they've been working exhaustively in Pasco County for the last several months and probably longer than that. And it looks like it's going to last for a while. At least the fire danger level is going to remain very high for the next few months. And that's why we're asking the public to use extra caution when you're out and about. That's why there's also a burn ban that remains in effect. No open flames, no garbage burning. All those are banned and remain in effect. So we'd like to make sure that we're looking out after each other. If there's anything suspicious that you see, don't hesitate to call 911 immediately. If anyone has information about any of the fires that have occurred in Pasco County, they're asked to call the arson alert number, and that number is 1-800-342-5869. Again, 1-800-342-5869. Also like to thank Pasco Fire Rescue and especially the Pasco Sheriff's Office yesterday. They were out there on State Road 54. That was quite a traffic nightmare for many commuters, but the Sheriff's Office worked very fast, assisted all the agencies in shutting that down for the safety of the firemen and women that are out there. And that's all we have at this point. Again, do you have anything, Chief Brian? Any last words? Go ahead. All right.
Real quick, I'd like to mention for homeowners that might be concerned about the safety of their home in a wildfire, there are resources available for preparing your landscape for such emergencies ahead of time. You can go to our website, the Florida Forest Service website, or the firewise.org website to get tips on how to manage your lawn and your landscape to protect your home. There's also the Ready, Set, Go program that on our website, on Florida Forest Service website, for getting ready for a wildfire and how to be prepared. And like Mr. Tobin was saying, please be prepared and remember that it only takes a spark to start a wildfire, so be careful.
Thank you.
Thank you.